So, just to be clear, what I need to do is eventually get to work soon. I did my homework for today. And so, what's going to happen is I'm eventually going to have to reduce the number of streams and stuff I do. And I haven't been doing just chatting streams for a while. I think it's been a while since I've done a just chatting stream. It would be nice if other people would actually do them, but I am going to have to work, and well, Jason and Cal did one on Saturday. Very funny, Anton. Hey, Chad, how you doing? Things are good. Uh, it's just I'm going to be a lot more busy soon. Insurance open enrollment season is starting. I'm going to have to do an internship at work. Hopefully not where I am currently looking. Well, I got one offer. Someone's trying to connect, but his connection is not doing very well. Is it just your camera that's not working? Tim?
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Huh. Yeah, I got a new iPhone. I was hoping that this one would work better. Does anybody?
iPhones, you have giving them permission. It's the security lockdown that doesn't let
Oh,
StreamYard see your camera.
so I have to somehow give probably Safari access to my camera. Okay, I'll drop off and see if I can figure that out. Talk to you later.
Okay. Speaking of Tim, we are taking a field trip to a monastery on Shabbat. Anybody who wants to come to us with us is welcome. Don't worry, Elijah. They're monarchical Trinitarians. So it's not a complete Beit Avodah Zarah, although they did have that famous icon of the Trinity on display. But there's all kinds of excuses that the Eastern Orthodox have for why that's not idolatry. And who am I to disagree with the Eastern Orthodox on whether or not the Trinity is the Trinity? I mean, the icon of the Trinity depicts the Trinity or not. Chad!
What's up, man?
Not much. What's up with you? How are things in Wisconsin?
Good. Anne's not feeling well, so I'm cooking some soup right now and thought I'd stop in and say hello. Have a
What
smoke.
kind of soup?
I'm making like a tenderloin, beef tenderloin soup.
Beef tenderloin soup.
Yeah, with like onion and bell pepper and uh, Worcestershire sauce and soy sauce and tomatoes and mushrooms.
I would make sure to get some starch in there.
Oh, I got some Italian parsley in there too. Well, I want it brothy.
Mm. Okay.
I prefer the broth. I mean, I could put a little bit of the cornstarch in there, but I kind of like the broth.
Okay.
So, how have you been? What's new?
School. I'm actually gonna have to work soon because so my work is seasonal, my
Yeah.
insurance work. So I do like 80 to 90% of my work like in 3 months.
Hmm.
So I'm actually gonna have to do work in a few months.
Yeah, that's fun. I mean, you look forward to that kind of?
I did. I don't as much anymore. It's become. I mean, I really liked helping people, um, but it's a lot less of helping people who need help and a lot more of helping rich people make rich people decisions.
Sure.
Like, oh, should my Medicare be the type that I can travel worldwide or the type where I can go to, you know, I don't know, my favorite doctors? Whereas I used to do a lot more of, oh, I haven't had health insurance ever, and I need to go to the doctor. What do I do?
Sure. Yeah.
But it's a living.
Nice. Well,
How's
how was
Thailand?
good? I just got a bathroom prepped up to put a uh, make a pan tomorrow and in the shower and then get it ready for tiling. And yeah, other than that, I have to go back. I have to fix something I didn't do well, which is bothers me, but whatever.
I saw you and Sartori were doing dueling movie reviews.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's good. I think it's a good conversation to have. I think in some ways that we agree on almost everything, other than the fact that I think it was not a great movie, you know. Just quality wise. I think it's funny too. Like you can't say that without somebody being like, "Oh, you can't say that." It's like, why? It's just being honest. It wasn't what it was hyped up to be. You
Did you
know,
watch that movie? What is it, Mrs. Davis or whatever? That
the show.
yeah.
I got through about the first 10 minutes of it, and then I just was like, whatever. I hadn't gotten back around to it, so it wasn't that compelling. And right away, within the first 10 minutes, I already felt like I was watching like an extension of the show Doom Patrol. I don't know if you've seen that, which I liked, but it was so gloomy. But it wasn't anything fancy or anything like that. And I'm actually quite annoyed and burnt out on the whole topic of AI in films. I mean, basically the you have that you have Westworld, which was a good show, and then it got canceled, and then you have um, the Mission Impossible, and then Indiana Jones, and it's like it's just It's just a played out theme. I'm just sick of it.
I've given up on modern entertainment. Last time I was watching a television show, it was Dallas.
I mean, there's some good stuff. I mean, I will always suggest that people go and watch Better Call Saul. That's a great show. I thought that was a fascinating show, and I thought they did it really well. They started it well. The middle was great, and it ended perfectly.
I started it when only the first two seasons were out, and I watched the first two seasons and I liked it.
Yeah.
But I haven't been back on Netflix since. Hey, Tim.
Hey,
Hey, Tim.
how's it
You
going?
figured it out. We can see
Yeah.
your steering wheel.
We're not on Netflix anymore either.
Third minute.
But it was worth it. I mean, if you have to rent it or whatever from Amazon or whatever, do it. I mean, it's a good show.
Mm.
Another show that bothered me, like I thought that Ozark was going to be just a masterpiece, and then they totally shit the bed in the last season, and I was like so upset with it because I wasted all this time.
That's how I felt about Breaking Bad. I thought they shit the bed in the last season.
Really, I mean, I thought it ended well.
It was too depressing.
Well, I know some people say that, but like I didn't think I thought it ended appropriately. You know what I didn't like about Ozark was that it was all like as it turns out, it was all a message to the viewer that if you're rich and powerful, you can get away with and do whatever you want. That actually came out from the people who acted on the show, and I thought that's just fucking stupid because it's not true. First of all, second of all, why can't you just tell a good story? You know.
Yeah.
And they did such a great job all the way up until the end there. It's like, what the hell, dude?
What was the show you're talking about before Ozarks?
Ozark, yeah.
What was
A
the one
great-
before that?
Better Call
Saul. Yeah, that's a great
Oh, I saw like one of the episodes of Breaking Bad like in the middle, and I really liked Saul's character, so I was kind of curious about that show. I
His
haven't watched Breaking
character is
Bad.
way better, is way more developed in the show.
Breaking Bad was good. Spoiler alert! I just hated what happened to Jesse at the end. I thought they broke him, and that was beyond me.
You had to watch El Camino then, because that was his closure there.
Oh,
Yeah. And so that was a movie that came after.
I did not watch that movie.
And yeah. So but yeah, as far as this the Sound of Freedom movie, I thought it was fine. It's a completely average movie. Mediocre at best. And I think like if there wasn't all of the strange political hype around it, nobody would have went to gone and seen it, and it wouldn't have been very important to anybody. But because of all the stupid hype around it, I think, which I'm still skeptical on where all that originated. I kind of feel gaslit around that, and I think that it was a bunch of free advertising to get people into the seats, and it worked. And it was a very mediocre movie. I'm not saying it was a terrible movie. It just wasn't. I mean, it was very, very, very average. A $14 million average piece of so-called piece of art, and it wasn't. Which I don't think it was art, personally.
Okay.
And people say you can't say that because it's the topic of it is so important. It's like that's nothing.
That's
to do
not
with
how
what I'm
it
saying.
works. Yeah.
Right? I mean, it has nothing to do with what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Just because you like the topic or a message of a movie doesn't mean that it's a good movie.
Right. I mean, I think everybody should see it. I mean, I thought Go ahead. Yeah, I think it's wonderful. But let's not say it's a great piece of a masterpiece, a cinematic piece of art, because it's not.
Tim, your mic's picking up a lot. Thank you. He muted himself.
Yeah. So yeah, there's that. And we've been watching stuff over on Mystery Masterpiece Theater.
Mm,
You know, we like Anne really loves that stuff. So
me too.
and I've grown to really love the British television shows. They're fabulous.
Yeah, British television is actually very good. Yeah,
Yeah, it's you know.
a lot of foreign stuff is really good. I was walking happy this morning and started talking to. So at the park, there are other dogs, and we stand
Yeah.
around and talk while the dogs kind of sort of sniff each other.
Yeah,
And
right.
the person I was talking to, she was talking about Korean television series. There's a Bible study tonight, Elijah, in like an hour. Yeah, I mean, I watched one of them, and it was. I mean, I don't know if I'm willing to sit and read subtitles as much as I used to be willing to,
Right.
but it was good.
Yeah, and even like some of these films or television shows where they do the overdub stuff, I don't know if I can do it. I mean, it pulls me out of the story when their lips aren't matching up with the words that are coming out of their mouth.
Mm,
It distracts me a lot. I think I'd almost rather it be subtitled.
yeah.
But it's I don't know. Perhaps I'm just picky, you know.
Well, Antonio's always pushing Attack on Titan. I don't know if you've heard of that one. It's
No.
an anime,
I'm
but
not watching anime. It's just not there for me. You know.
Vanderklay really liked it.
Good for Vanderklay.
Did you see the video with his wife?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of cute.
Yeah, no, I think that was really great. Hey, so my little critique on you was, just so we can clear this up,
Yeah.
was that, like, let's say if for some reason Vanderklay gets another high profile-ish conversation with somebody,
Mm.
can we keep it a secret for those people who aren't members? Because like that was such a cool thing that for me, I was like, oh, he landed Hurwitz. Like I don't give a shit about Hurwitz, but I think it's cool that he landed him, and that was exciting for me. And then when you came out with your video, I thought, no, you spoiled the damn thing, you son of a bitch.
Mm. Well, first of all, I think if Paul wanted to, he could get. He doesn't reach out to a lot of people he could get.
Right, but when because I think he'll start to do more of that. Actually, I think this is coming from him.
I hope so, but
Yeah.
He's very resistant to doing that at all.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's a good thing that he has,
And
because it'll bring good balance to what he brings, what he brings forward.
as far as the video I made, I mean, even if you're not a member, you can see that he dropped a members only video with the title. So you can see that he had a Greg Horwitz thing.
I don't think
No?
I don't. No, you can't. Only the members can see that stuff.
Really?
Yeah, I have two different whatchamacallits, YouTube accounts. One of them is non-member, and the other one is.
I was pretty sure you could see, but in any case, I mean, it wasn't like I was actually discussing. I discussed a little bit of the video. Like I can understand if you think like, oh, that he had the conversation at all
Right.
was kind of a surprise.
Yeah. Kind of like it's kind of like accidentally letting it out that there's to somebody who's having a surprise birthday party that they're going to be having a surprise birthday party.
But
That's how I felt about it.
Paul was like, it teased that conversation for a while. I guess after he put it up on the thing.
Right.
I really didn't think of it much. I did think I don't want to like spoil the actual conversation,
Right.
but I couldn't bring myself to watch it anyway.
It was fine. It was a fairly mediocre conversation. It wasn't a work of art.
Horowitz just gets under my skin.
I mean, there's nothing. It's predictable in a lot of the ways things he talks about. Some of his backstory was really interesting, but other than that, like I liked hearing. I like that Vanderklay pulled the randos number on him, which was cool. So we got some of that, which was the best part of the conversation. Other than that, the ideas he has are like whatever. I like his books. Like I like the.
Oh, I
Open
haven't read
Series.
his book. Yeah, I'm guessing I would actually like his fiction.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Ultimately, I think you only actually get bothered by people when you see like something in them in yourself.
Right.
And I just remember when right after the election he was on Peterson talking about what he did during the election. I was just fuming. I was fit to be tied.
So speaking of elections, what do you think we're gonna have going into this? Like we don't need to get into the politics around it because I don't really give a shit about that. I'm interested in like, is it going to be as chaotic?
It's going to be worse, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be worse than 2020. This is like, I hope I'm wrong.
Right. Me too.
But from everything I've seen, we've just been getting worse and worse. And
Well, here's why it might get worse. I think actually, I think the left has run out of gas to light with. In a lot of ways, I think that the left has run out of their gaslighting tools, and we're already starting to see the right use them, as I've just already pointed out, and we're going to see just stupidity.
The worst case scenario is it's going to be Biden against Trump again. If the general election is Biden against Trump, oh, just shoot me. Just shoot me. And the worst possible thing would be that there would be a close election between Biden and Trump, because that just means that all the stupidity is going to continue. And I don't know. I mean, did you see I posted a video from Michael Schellenberger today?
I didn't watch it. No.
Like, in my ideal world, people would pay attention to Michael Schellenberger and be like, oh, look, somebody who's intelligent, who's actually looking at like evidence of how society should be run and what's going wrong with our society and wants to fix it. But when he ran for governor in California, and he's a far left guy, right? So he should have been really. He did come in third, kind of. He almost came in fourth. He got like 2-3% of the vote. It was just so sad. And it's like he's. It's,
You know what we should do?
I
We
don't
should
know.
do a book study on on these just chatting streams coming. Let's see, December maybe in December we should start a 1984 book study. I'm serious because there are people who haven't read it, and there's really strong tropes in there when it talks about Eurasia and this other side, and like that whole idea of who was the enemy first, and was it this and that? Like this whole thing is, and I think it would be good to do like a book study and talk about it, and um, in a productive manner that is kind of fun on here, you know. And maybe we could even get away with doing it with the audio version.
Honestly, I am becoming more and more like, I think the internet part of this little corner should be a 50% or less of what we're actually doing.
Oh, now you're starting to pay attention to me. Thank
What do
you.
you mean starting?
But I'm just saying, I'm joking. I'm doing it. I told you so because like I was saying this for a long time. Like the oversaturation rate it's hard on us for a few reasons. There's a burnout thing that happens. The what makes it special starts to diminish. There's less and less to talk about. It becomes more and more like its own little TLC news cycle, which is just like the rest of the news cycles, but like only sounding more interesting than the rest. And it's like, we, you know, we could do better. And I don't know. If you're like me, you're addicted to this shit, and it's a lot. I mean, this is taxing.
Yeah,
You know.
so not this Saturday, but next Saturday, Tim and I and Trey and maybe Andrew are going to drive up to monastery around here.
Hmm.
Not around here. It's like 4 hours away, but around here. Um, I've actually been there once before, and Tim goes there on a regular basis. And I'm gonna talk to the abbess. And yeah, I mean, so one thing that so recently Max on my server, Max of Meaning, was like, hey, I got a lot out of this little corner, and now I'm involved with my synagogue and doing work, and so I'm becoming less and less involved with this little corner. Am I missing anything? And I was like, nope. That's 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 actually what kind of we want to happen is
Yeah.
people who are terminally online get what they need to stop being terminally online.
Yeah.
The only thing is, I would say, pay it forward, right? So that this little corner is still here for the other terminally online people who need it, and maybe even, so you go to a campground, right? And the rule is leave it better than you when you got there,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
And I kind of sort of would like to see this little corner become something that can sustain that people come and leave it a little bit better than when they got here.
Yeah.
But you don't live in the campground, right? You don't go and pitch a tent and like decide to live in the campground.
Well, this was Joey's whole thing about the bridges of meaning. You don't live on the bridge. Don't live under the bridge. Like, you know,
He's
and
right.
like, so this is another my little bitchy whiny thing. Like I'm wondering how the hell did Vanderclay not watch my Karen Wong and John Vervaeke conversation? You know, it's like crazy to me. But is
I
it
didn't
because?
watch your Karen. When did you have a conversation with Karen
See,
Wong?
that's what I mean. This is the problem you're talking about.
It is, because that sounds like an excellent conversation I want to watch.
And it's like, how did that not happen? You know?
It's on your channel?
No, it's on Karen's channel.
Oh. Oh, well, I barely, even though she invited me to go on her channel, I barely watch her channel.
And I need to do an on the ground estuary thing. I just got a message from Laura, and we need to get that going because it's just so difficult. Like there's, you know, between having the writers project and then having the, you know, the church and the different things that I'm doing there now, and then trying to maintain going to my AA meetings and sponsorship, which I'm not really engaged much in with. And that's a problem, man. It's like shit, man. Like, and then not wanting to let go of this when I should just let it go.
I
You
see.
know?
This is the thing. I don't want it to be like it's either you're involved in this full time or you just
Right.
have to let it go.
Well, this
And
is what I'm pointing out is that this is the kind of problems that the guys like me are going to have. You know, it's
mm,
like finding the balance and making it through the regular seasons of my life, which are things like being a husband and, you know, attending to being at work and my AA meetings, those three things, and church, those are all priorities. And well, in some strange way, this is a very high priority to me, and um, which I think is good. But you know, and ever since I first talked with you when I first was on your channel, I mentioned this right away. Like so I've been struggling with this ever since the beginning.
mm.
You know, and
I actually think if we're so, I think the difference between a cult and a good community is being part of a community supports you in the other aspects of your life. It doesn't drain you, and it's not totalizing.
yeah,
And I would like, I, I mean, this is my whole thing with trying to get like established organizations, and because I think when you set things up, institutions, so that it's not. I say this to Paul Vanderklay all the time. I want to contribute to something that, if God forbid you had a heart attack tomorrow, it would still be here. And let's face it, if God forbid Paul Vanderklay had a heart attack tomorrow,
it's going
what
away.
would happen?
It's not. I don't think it has the balls to stick around because there's not enough people who embody what Vanderclay does.
Yes and no. You can't have more than one flagpole you're circling around, Chad.
No, I
Like
know that. I understand.
he's homeroom, right?
Right, but
And
he's homeroom for a reason. He was made homeroom by not by uh not by election or anything. It was just he there's a reason why it's almost an ineffable reason, which is a great thing. You know, and there's a quality that he has that nobody else has around here. And
but nobody else can have that quality, Chad.
that's my point. That's my point.
No. Nobody else can have it. It's
Right.
not like if I had that quality, I would be contributing to this little corner. I would be competing with Paul.
Right, but yes, no, I know that. That's why I'm saying there's that, and what you're saying. If he for some reason walks away or shuts down or whatever happens tomorrow, we're gonna have difficulty figuring out is it worth keeping.
Well, see, this is the thing. I think it is worth keeping, and that's what got me so upset about
I believe you. I mean, I
Joey.
agree with you.
When Joey left, that shouldn't, like.
I agree with you. I agree. It's absolutely worth keeping, but it's more than what you say and what I say. It's and more than you know. It's like it takes I think Grim Grizz is a guy that might be able to fill Paul's shoes. That's how I feel though. So I watch and interact with Grim Grizz as much as I do with Paul. So to me, these are my guys. These are my
Grizz
guys.
is very hard to understand.
I understand that, but for me, if Paul goes, I'm gonna have Grizz.
A lot of people have Grizz
Right.
and really like Grizz, and I like Grizz, but it's he's Grizz is too refined of a taste. He's not mass appeal.
Right. And I think to some extent neither is Paul.
I disagree. I think Paul is very mass appeal. I think if Paul, I think Paul, if he wanted to, he could actually have a much bigger channel. And I understand his reservations about why he doesn't want to have a bigger channel and why
Right.
he doesn't emphasize that and try to grow it. But
I don't think he has. This is he has quality appeal. I don't think he has mass appeal.
I disagree.
And I think like um because he doesn't play the games and because he doesn't try to serve the cult of the algorithms. He doesn't try to play. That's why he doesn't have the mass appeal. I tell you what, this little corner, if it wanted to blow up, we could blow this bitch up quick.
I think this little corner will hopefully blow up, but it has to have the capacity to absorb that audience, and we don't.
Well,
and part of the reason we don't is people don't want us to.
If it was like all about blowing it up, we really could. All we need is like 6 of us, 7 of us who are committed to blowing this space up. And then all we would have to do is lean hard into the red meat and just LARP being douchebags.
Okay, but
work.
No, Chad,
But
that wouldn't be this little corner. That's not.
That's right.
No, I think this little corner has the capacity to blow up, as in be much larger than it is, if we actually build up the institutions and make it capable and build up the hierarchies. And that's what I've been trying to do very hard and it's hard work on behind the scenes. It really is.
Yeah.
Right? There are a lot of people who say, no, we just want to be a house church. And I'm like, no, I want to build a cathedral. And you don't build a cathedral by just plopping down, starting with the visible start. You have to build the foundations. You have to set it up so that it can come together.
Right.
And
now I agree, but I think that I think one thing that was missed was you can't build something if it's not following the patterns that it's born out of. And that's the big thing. I mean, you can't pull it out of the patterns that brought it to being and amplify them and make them into something big. I think that's why it's this thing to blow up, because it's actually it is rather emergent. And
Paul, Chad, at 20-story high rise is a house, but you can't make a 20-story high rise by building the foundation for a house. You have to build the foundation for a 20-story high rise.
I don't know if I follow the analogy very well, but
so this little corner right now is the size of a house.
Mm-hmm.
And I want it to be an apartment building.
Well, hang on. Here's what it is. You ever go to like a farmer's market?
Yes.
Usually at a farmer's market, it takes place, in my experience, it takes place on a corner street downtown, and
Okay.
they shut the street up. That's how it's like a corner. Now, you can't get some developer to come in and tell these people, we think that what you have here is very special, and we would like to make it more accessible to the masses. And we want to take your actual idea that you guys have here of this farmer's market, and we want to give it some money. We want to crank up the visibility on this, and we basically want to turn this into a corporation and boost this. And in theory, it should work, but it wouldn't
No, no,
work.
no. So Chad, it's funny you give that analogy because the farmers market that is the Grove in Beverly Hills is precisely that. A developer has developed what was a farmers market into a huge mall. But even a farmers market, like a lot of people think they go to a farmers market and they think it's each individual farmer. That's not how it works. There's a structure underneath the farmers market that you never see. You have no idea who's actually running the farmers market. But there's somebody there's a corporation that has insurance and takes out permits and has to talk to the government and the various leaders. And it's actually like there is a corporation behind the farmers market, but part of making it work is people who are like, no, I want to go to a farmer's market. I don't want any corporations, not understanding that it's there.
I'm not sure if every farmer's market is like that.
You can't have a farmer's market if you don't have the health inspectors and the permits and the security and the insurance. You can't. You just can't. Every county or local government requires you in order to shut down the street, right? You have to get the politicians on board.
Yeah.
And like everybody who goes to the farmers market is like, oh, I hate the politicians. I would never talk to the politicians. And it's like, without the politicians, there would be no more farmers market. It's funny that you gave that example.
No, I mean, I'm not saying you need to get rid of the politicians or anything like that. Like, I just think like once you go make it into this other thing, it's not the farmers market anymore.
Again, I'm not trying to change this little corner. I'm trying to build a structure it needs a structure that's able to have, it takes an organization. Dun, dun, dun.
No, I agree. I agree. I just think that I'm not saying that it shouldn't happen. I'm saying, and I think like people who are invested in doing this well are paying attention. They want to do it well, and so they are being thoughtful in that.
But there's a lot of people who are arguing after Chino. I every time I heard somebody say it would have been horrible if there were thousands of people there, I wanted to pull my hair out.
Well, some of those people are intrinsic parts of this,
and they're selfish.
They are just like the rest of us.
No, not just like the rest of us. I'm sorry, that level of selfishness is just gross.
I'm saying we all have our own little selfish things that are blocking us from contributing in a better way than we could. That's all.
We all have our faults, but some things like saying, "Oh no, I just want this little corner just for us," is like, really.
Yeah, I never thought that, but
I know.
But only because I believe like the thing can happen. But it can also be destroyed if it's not done well or right. That's all.
Correct.
That's always been my concern. And
that's a valid concern. It has to be a concern throughout whatever you're doing.
How's it going, fellas?
What
Hello,
up?
Andrew
What up,
Tournay.
Andrew? Hey guys, my battery's
Good
on
to
like
see you.
27%, and I have to go check on my soup. So
Okay,
Well,
thank you for. You brought up important stuff, Chad, and I hope your wife feels better and the soup comes out well.
I love you guys. Be well.
have a good one, Chad.
So,
Now it's
Andrew,
just the
why'd you jump?
kids.
Why'd you jump on?
Why'd I jump up?
Jump on.
Jump on. Oh. I just got finished with class. I saw this. I was like, might as well.
So you're coming next Saturday, right?
Next Saturday, not this Saturday.
Not this Saturday. Next Saturday.
Probably doesn't work well with the schedule. I got finals the week after.
So start studying now.
Jacob, I don't think it works that way.
Ethan says TLC will never grow because it has no identity. It's amorphous. You're right, Jacob. I disagree. And how's the baby?
You know those like word association things, right? Where it like you say what does this whatever remind you of, and then like everyone types in a word, and the words that come up the most like look the largest or something like that.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, well, I figure I'll send one, and then hopefully it'll make the way around this little corner, and we'll see what everyone thinks this little corner is,
Sandy,
Hey,
How's
Jacob.
it going, Sandy?
how is it in Kanakistan? I hear there are fires.
Lots of fires. Everything's on fire.
Why are you setting everything on fire, Sandy? You shouldn't set things on fire.
They didn't let me play with the matches enough as a kid. What can I tell you? I could just say, it's lightning strikes. I move too fast.
So how are things, Sandy?
Mixed bag. I have work's going well. Inventory's tomorrow. I'm off. Yay.
Oh, wow! You get off for inventory when
No, I get off
worked.
every Tuesday and Thursday. It just happens to be on Thursday.
Yeah, no. But when I worked retail, like there was one night, I worked at Nordstrom. There was one night everybody had to come in for inventory.
Nope. I remember those days myself. But these days now, especially in the corporation world, they make their regular staff work for 2 months. Everything's spick and span for the company that's coming in for 1 day.
Oh, so there's a company that comes in for. Oh, that makes sense because.
Yeah, and two full months of literally the back rooms look like they've been, wiped clean, and everything's on the floor where there's no room for anything. And yeah, we work.
Canadians are making Garth unemployed.
Canadians are making Garth unemployed.
Well, he says his factory had a blackout due to a storm, so
Oh,
I'm guessing that it must be the fault of the Canadians.
yeah, I still remember the last major blackout that we sat through for 2 days here, and I have a friend of mine who worked for Hydro One, which used to be Ontario Hydro, said it happened just on your side of the border. Somebody not quick enough on a switch.
Ethan says, "Baby is 2 thumbs up. Why do you disagree? What is its identity? Its identity is
What?
this little corner. That's its identity."
Baby is 2 thumbs up. Okay.
Yes. his wife had a baby, and he was apparently involved as far as he knows.
And I was going to say, and will be for many years to come.
That's definitely true. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually did some sort of study, and they found out that yes, babies, the first couple of years of life look more like their father than they do the rest of their lives, because that way the fathers won't kill them.
See, I always knew God was smart.
And Garth is getting married. He hasn't told us when, but congratulations, Garth, on the engagement. I mean, he doesn't know about it yet, and neither does his fiance. But I'm announcing it on YouTube.
That's good. Somebody has to do these things.
Oh, I have to bother Antonio about marrying his girlfriend.
I've had several conversations with him, and it hasn't come up, and I was very tempted to ask. Mm-hmm. He's going to coach me through some StreamYard stuff. So, yeah. Which is an interesting component of Chino conversations, because I have, like, within some of my creative pursuits, I have areas that I find very difficult to, like, actually track what I want to do. And he's one of several people that I've said that to, who gets it rather quickly. And the other person is, I was going to say a young man. I'd adopt him, but he's probably close to your age. So he's not that, yeah, I mean, he's not a kid. And he has 2 kids of his own, but he is also a gentleman with autism, as are his sons. And so he catches on to some of my stuff pretty quick. So when Anthony basically said, oh, here's some questions, on what's going on with, why are you not doing this already? And I was like, well, yeah, good questions.
So Garth has good news. His girlfriend is moving up to Minnesota, so the relationship is progressing.
Good.
You have precisely 6 months from the day she moves up to Minnesota to marry her. Ethan says, kid checks out, has my ears, and my appetite for tolerance. TLC to me seems like a non-entity. Ooh, hey, Rabbi Mullet, how are you doing? Yeah. So, Rabbi Mullet, I may want to have a discussion with you. I've decided to actually start a Beit Midrash LaNoachites.
Wait until he responds.
He's good. Are you good with my Beit Midrash, or are you just good? Well, Garth isn't actually getting married. Wow, Rabbi Mullet says. I hate to tell you this, Garth, but when a girl moves cities, she might be anticipating a longer term relationship than just dating. So the Beit Midrash is, I am currently thinking of the name Mayan Menachem, and where did I write the motto of it? I wrote it somewhere. Where is it?
You did. Wasn't it in general?
It was in general, but where in general? I wrote Lehitrapot hanefesh im chokhmah bina v'da'at shel Torah leMoshe miSinai. I'm guessing you will have no no objections to that. Lehitrapot hanefesh. I like it. And the idea is that it would be eventually dedicated to hopefully having some sort of rehab facility or group living facility for people with substance abuse or homelessness or something like that. So it would be and kind of like the Chabad, very similar model as the Chabad, Chabad Rehab Center, which has been around for like 50 years now. It's older than I am, I think. When was Chabad Rehab? When was it founded? It was founded. Statistics. Yeah, it was founded 45 years ago. So it's about my age. And very similar thing, but obviously it's not actually going to be a real Chabad. Lehitrapot. Maybe lehitraput. Lehitraput. Ooh. Okay. That's okay. Change made. Thank you. So it's like what the Christians do, just with Hashem rather than Yoshki. Basically, yes. But with Beit Midrash attached. Jonathan says, Noahide Rehab Center for Recovering Christians. For self-healing. So I didn't know how to translate it to English. I don't know how you translate Lehitraput Hanefesh Im Chochma Bina V'Da'at Shel Torah LaMoshe Misinai. But I mean it's a modification of the Chabad Rehab Center model with there's a place in Los Angeles called Beit Teshuvah, which is a supposedly non-denominational, but obviously non-denominational basically means reform thing in for self-healing of the soul with the wisdom, understanding, and knowledge of the Torah of Moses from Sinai. Yeah, basically. Yeah. I didn't actually see that conversation with Karen and thing. I posted it on my channel, so anybody who if you look in the community tabs, you'll see it's there. And in 15 minutes, we're gonna wrap up this Just Chatting stream to start the Bible study at 6. I think the Bible study is at 6. Let me ask Jason.
Usually in half an hour.
Yeah.
So, long-term residential.
Well, okay, so part of it is I actually think it should be a long-term, it should be a long-term residential facility for healthy. So this is what Rabbi Mullet is not going to like, which is next Saturday we are going to go speak with the abbess of a Eastern Orthodox convent, because since I can't offer Noachides a full religious life, I am thinking of doing it to the extent possible with the convent, because A, land near there is cheap. B, it's there's a community there. Rabbi Mullet says, "Why are you worried about what I'm going to like? Worry about what Hashem is going to like." That is precisely what I worry about, Rabbi. And because you are a rabbi, the two are connected, Rabbi. That's why I'm worried. Yes. The question becomes, what's snea lechet? Yeah. So what was I saying? So if it's within walking distance of the convent, then for the Gentiles involved, hopefully, since they explicitly believe in a monarchical trinity, it can be perfectly kosher for Noachides. That's the part I'm not sure you would agree with. As I understand it, because the Eastern Orthodox are explicitly explicitly monarchical Trinitarians. It's halachically less problematic than anything else. Or I could go find a mosque, but I don't think that would be as easy or as effective. Yeah. So that's one of the reasons we're going to be visiting the monastery.
Are you looking into that specifically for the practical, or are you also going to look at ways that it integrates with any of the learning or study?
See, that's the thing. So Rabbi Mullet says less problematic. Let me put it this way. I think that doing something like this with an Eastern Orthodox monastery is less problematic than doing it with an atheist whatever. And for some reason, unfortunately, much of Orthodox Judaism has become convinced that while it's okay to do things with atheists, it's not to do them even with monarchical Trinitarians. And so I'll tell you a story. And Rabbi Mullet, I'll tell you that it's not, well, I don't know. If anything, it would actually have to be for women because the convent is a convent. If it was going to be single gender. But we'll see. But so the story. So after the Russian Revolution, what happened was that the kosher bakery in town was taken away from the Jewish baker and was given to this Jewish woman who was a rabid Marxist, of course. And so the Jews who were living in that town went to the Rebbe Rashab, the fifth Lubavitcher Rebbe, and there's Rabbi Mullet. Hey, Rabbi Mullet, how you doing?
I'm listening to you a few seconds delayed, so I missed.
So I have to start the story of the Rebbe Rashab over again. So this is a story regarding a small Jewish village. It was a Lubavitcher village in Russia right after the Russian Revolution. And what the Marxists did was they took the kosher bakery away from the Jew who ran it, and they gave it to a Marxist functionary who was also Jewish, kind of, but she was a Marxist. And so the people of the town asked the Rebbe Rashab, should they buy their bread from this new Jewish baker, or should they buy it from the faithful Christian who had also had a bakery in town? And the Rebbe Rashab told them that they should go to the faithful Christian, because he said, at least this person believes in God, and that's better than an atheist, even from the questions of like Pat Akum and stuff like that. He told them to go to the Christian baker. So this is a famous story in Chabad.
Okay, but one could argue that at that time the anti-religious fervor among the atheistic Jews was such that they would purposefully try to sabotage Orthodox observance, and therefore you couldn't trust the food. Whereas, you probably recognize, Jacob, in halacha, this concept of lefitu mo, that a non-Jew who's just sort of acting, I don't mean this in a negative way, naively, but meaning just acting according to their own innocence is a better word. Lefitu mo, we don't expect them to purposely try to make their food not kosher. So like if you ask a non-Jew lefitu mo, you ask him, under the circumstances, you don't expect him to be having an agenda. You say, what's in the bread? And he goes, flour and water. Okay, so you can eat it, right? Whereas if you think that he's trying to get the Jewish customers by telling them what they want to hear, you wouldn't trust them. But lefitu mo, just according to their innocence, say what's in the right. But in other words, so in that case, you could say the non-Jew has no bone to pick. They don't have an agenda of thwarting Judaism per se in that context. Whereas the atheistic Jew has that avowed agenda in those days. Nowadays, we don't have that. Now you have Jewish apathy. But in those days, there was a revolution against religion. So you would expect the non-religious Jew to be hostile to Judaism, and therefore you wouldn't trust his food, because you would expect he's trying to sabotage the Orthodox.
So the reason I was telling the story is generally what we find nowadays is in the Orthodox Jewish community, people will have a preference for somebody who considers themselves an atheist to go to like a secular hospital than to go to a Catholic hospital, right?
Yeah, but
I don't think that makes sense.
Or is it because they are averse to idolatry, and because the Catholic hospital's full of icons, they refuse to go there?
Okay, so I mean, when you look at it, are the crucifixes actually Gitchkas? I mean, if you're gonna say that it's mamish avodah zarah, right? Then you can't even walk into a Catholic hospital, right?
Well, it's not a place of worship, but you wouldn't be able to daven, you wouldn't be able to pray or utter blessings in a room that has an icon. Although I hear you're asking about the cross itself. is not itself an icon per se. It's a symbol. I don't know enough about Catholicism to ask whether they worship the cross
Well,
itself.
so with Catholicism and Western Christianity, it's a much bigger problem. The reason why specifically I am talking to a convent of Eastern Orthodox is they explicitly they say it's forbidden in their religion to make icons of God the Father, because
Yeah,
they
but what about God the
explicitly
Son? You know,
there is a chas v'shalom. No, this is part of the discussions that I'm having with Father Stephen.
again,
Is
it's a less
the
egregious
monarchical
form of
trinity.
idolatry, but it's
It's
still
shitov,
idolatry.
but it's shitov.
That's not an excuse for you and me.
I didn't say chas v'shalom. I'm not saying I'm becoming an Eastern Orthodox Christian. Chas v'shalom. What
But-
I'm saying is, and I have to say, according to the Rebbe, shituf may even be lechatchila for certain Gentiles.
Well, you have to show that to me, because
I
can tell you, you know, I'm curious to understand that, especially if you're making the case that we should differentiate between this Gentile and that Gentile. For him, it's good, and for him, it's not good. That's hard for me to hear. In other words, I'm well aware of the stream of thought that Shita for Gentiles is acceptable. I don't want to say permitted, but I'll say acceptable after the fact, maybe. You know, nobody would say lechatchila. Nobody would say, you know, optimally go worship a false deity. But the question is, if you're doing so in this way where you acknowledge the Father as the chief and the other as subordinate or subservient, could a Gentile get away with that and keep his portion in the world to come somewhat intact? There is a stream of thought like that. However, it's so contentious. It's like a minefield. Why would anybody want to enter that? In other words, I understand here we're dealing with
what's the option? The option is secularism.
No, I don't know what the option is, but my point is that in other words, I guess that's exactly the point. I don't know what the options are. Is this required, or is there another?
I don't think it's possible.
Alternative.
I don't think it's possible, and I think when you look at the evidence of, for example, substance abuse, I don't think it's possible to have good mental health care that is not religiously involved.
You're right. In fact, that's one of the foundations of AA, is that you need to believe in a higher power in order to rise above the addiction. And so we acknowledge that. However, there is a higher power. It's Hashem. What I'm really asking you is, I'm not clear what your proposal is. Is your proposal to use a space within an Eastern Orthodox monastery?
No.
Or is your proposal to actually use Eastern Orthodox Christianity as a substitute for belief for Ben Noach?
Okay, so first thing I'll say is, have you heard of Sefer Arachim Chabad?
No.
So the translation is the Encyclopedia of Hasidic Philosophy. It was started by Rabbi Yoel Kahn, who was the Rebbe's greatest student. The Rebbe told him to start it. He only got to, I think, something like Dalet or Hay, and it's 20 volumes so far, something like that. And he passed away, unfortunately, but I think they're still working on it. But it's available on Hebrew Books. You know Hebrew Books, the website. And under Umot HaOlam, he has about, I think it's like 40 pages long and I highly recommend reading the entry of Umot HaOlam there, because it's very extensive.
So I'm somewhat aware. In fact, I saw it inside I went and looked it up because when someone told me about it, I was kind of surprised. I looked it up and it's there. Is it the Tzemach Tzedek? There's a Chabad Rebbe who wrote a sefer, something Tzedek. Is it Tzemach Tzedek? Something like
Tzemach
that.
Tzedek was the third Lubavitcher.
Third
Rebbe.
Lubavitcher. So he
His name was also
writes in
Menachem
there
Mendel. Yeah.
that a Christian
Mm.
has the status of a ger toshav.
Really, that I'm very surprised about.
He says, yeah, and in fact, he's somewhat, I don't know if say parroting, mirroring
Mm.
the words of the Meiri. The Meiri writes that as well.
Real, yeah. Chezi said that, and I was very surprised.
Yeah, I'm also surprised, but I'm actually happy about it because,
Me
in other
too.
words, it allows us as Jews to interact with non-Jewish Christians in a way that is just, I don't know, for lack of a better word, more genteel. In other words, the Meiri's point is that when you find a lot of pejorative statements in the Talmud about Ovdei Kochavim, the idol worshippers,
Yeah.
he says it does not apply to Christians because they are living by upstanding moral principles that emerge essentially from the Torah, and therefore they are ger toshav. And I don't know if he says it explicitly, but I think the implication is to Muslims as well, that at least these two groups of, again, Muslims being pure monotheists and Christians being sort of monotheist, but in other words, they think they're monotheists and somehow that's good enough. But in other words, we don't have to condemn Christians as heathen to be treated in a negative manner, the way that there are sources within our literature that would indicate. So that is somewhat liberating because you
I have to say I believe there's a definite halachic difference between Eastern Orthodox theology and Catholic and Protestant theology, because the monarchical trinity is very, very clearly shituf, whereas the egalitarian trinity is not so clear.
I hear that. In other words, one is clearly more preferred. I hate to use that word preferred over the other. In other words, it's more justifiable as like accepting it than the other, because at least Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu is principal deity, not sharing equality with another entity. But even within the what you call the egalitarian trinity, I'm not familiar with these terms. I'm not a Christian scholar, but I'm not saying that whatever. I don't know what your level of scholarship is, but I know you're a very smart guy. They think it's all one. So in the end, they're all ascribing these persons as the same one entity. So you could still kind of squeeze it in there and say, okay, they also believe in one God. Kinda. Like if you want to be charitable, I'm saying.
Yeah.
But whatever we want to have positive relations. But what I want to say is there's something of a distance, of a chasm, of a gap between saying, okay, like after the fact, this allows us to have positive relations with our Gentile neighbors, versus saying we can teach that this is good, acceptable, fine. You know what I mean?
So
Jacob, I have to run. I have mincha shortly, and I got to get ready. I just had this revach of a few minutes to pop on and say hello. It's always
Thank
a
you
pleasure,
so much.
Sandy. It's a pleasure to see you. Please forgive me for being very offensive. And
You weren't very offensive, but I do want to know when your next Sunday night Bible study is.
Right. So stay tuned, because I haven't quite engineered my next series yet, but it's a work in progress. I'm just dealing with a lot of personal things right now. People might notice I'm on a hiatus from Tanakh Talk. I just very busy. I'm planning a bar mitzvah. There's a lot going on.
Mazel tov.
I'm just stepping away from all the extracurriculars that don't put money in my pocket, because I'm spending a lot of it right now on personal things, that just are taking everything out of me at present. So I'll reemerge eventually.
Mazel tov on the bar mitzvah. It should be about hatzlacha, and you should have when the chuppah happens, you should invite large numbers of people that will pay at least their fair share of the dinner.
Baruch Tia, we'll see how it goes. All of Hashem's up. I'm gonna run away now.
Okay, thank you so much, Rabbi.
All right, best be well.
So
So
I'm curious in the conversation between the two of you and in the direction you're leaning. Like, I have a family member who still volunteers with what I'm looking at now and thinking, I thought it was one of those secular addiction centers, but I'm wondering if it isn't perhaps affiliated with Catholic church of some kind based on some of the names around it in the town where they live, and also in one of the Asian countries where they went for several months to do some training with people on the ground there.
Yeah.
A few years back. So like, I'm thinking this is a big venture you're talking about then.
well, I don't know how big of a venture it is, but first of all, I have to see if it's something that people are going to be willing to fund or not. Raj, we have like a Bible study in 5 minutes.
Oh, well then I'll leave, I guess.
Well,
Some wisdom.
Okay. Say what you're gonna say. I'm gonna end this stream so we can start the Bible study stream, and then you have to join Raj.
Careful, he'll make you pray a non-Protestant prayer.
Have you watched any of our Hebrew Bible studies?
Just little bits and pieces here and there. I've never sat through a whole one though.
So definitely gonna make you say the opening prayer.
That would be lovely.
I didn't have anything to say. I just wanted to say hi.
Well, then I'm definitely going to end this stream, and there will be a Bible study stream starting in all of 5 minutes. So, okay, bye, people.
See you in 5.